Well, thank you very much for coming today. My name is Karen Leonard. I've met many of you. Thank you again for taking some time out of your day to join us. Today, I'm pretty excited because we have Adam Thiel with us today, and he's from EdTech, and we will be talking about accessibility tools. We know that with the increase of blended learning and virtual learning and just the increase of tuition, technology in the classroom, that we need to make sure that we're considering all students and all types of learners. So just a couple things. You will be able to access this slide deck. I have that bit.ly link in the top right corner of every slide. So don't worry if you don't get it now. You'll be able to go through and take that at any time. Again, my name is Karen Leonard, and I'm the Director of Education Technology and Computer Science at the State Department of Education. And you are welcome to reach out to me at any time with any questions you have. And I'm sure I don't have the answers for everything, but I've got people I can reach out to and just want to make sure that I'm here and accessible with you. So I really am trying to collect information for us here at the SDE as well. So I would love for you, just as we're going through and we're seeing your desktop, not a slide. Is that right? I'm so glad. You know what? I'm going to stop share. And I guess that would be why that you couldn't see. Let's try share screen again. There we go. And back up a couple slides. Okay, so now hopefully you can see the slide deck. And if you could in your chat box, we're trying to find ways to share brain break activities with teachers across the state. And we said, what a better way to find some of your favorites is throughout this session today. If you can think of something you use as a brain break activity with your students, I would love to have you share that with me. It could be a website. It could be just, you know, do you play music? Do you have them stand up and do anything? What kind of activities do you use with your students that allow them to kind of have that deep breath that we all need as we transition from maybe content area to content area? So today, we're going to learn about some accessibility tools and best practices that will help you create better digital content for your learners. As I said, you're welcome to unmute or raise your hand or even put any questions you have in the chat box as we go on. I'm sure we'll be able to answer many, and anything that don't reach during the time, I will follow back up at the end at a frequently asked questions or questions and answers. So today I'd like to introduce to you Adam Thiel. Adam is the ICT Accessibility Coordinator at Oklahoma EdTech. He has been gracious enough to spend some time with us today. And I'll tell you what, Adam, I am now going to stop my screen share. And Adam is going to, well, maybe my computer's, it's a Monday. There we go. And Adam, you have full rights, and he's going to take it from here.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. As Karen said, my name is Adam Thiel, and I'm the ICT Accessibility Coordinator for EdTech. And that ICT stands for Information and Communication Technology. So it's a really long title that just means that I get to teach people all about accessibility and help them with their digital content. So let me see if I can get this screen share working myself. We'll go over to there. Get the slides. I thought I had this pulled up ready to go. There we go. Okay, so so I know that, you know, I'm going to be sharing some different tools with everybody, but the best tool available in your toolbox really is you. If you take the time to just learn some basic accessibility principles, then that's really going to enable you to create better digital content for everyone, including students that have disabilities, but really for anybody.
And Adam, I think you were sharing your screen. You have the same issue I did. I can see.
Oh, well,
It's contagious today.
it must be. Let's see, it shows. So can you see? Let's see. Sorry, let me.
I'll tell you what,
Hold up.
I made you the host. Let's see if that does anything different for us.
All right, let me stop sharing my screen here.
Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
You have to hit the share button. That's the key. I had it all pulled up and didn't hit share. Thanks for sticking with me, everybody. Yeah, so like I said, really you're the best tool in the toolbox for as far as accessibility goes. And let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next slide. So some of the things I'm going to be talking about today are some of the bullet points I've got on the screen. This is definitely not an exhaustive list of everything by any means. Accessibility is kind of a deep rabbit hole once you really get into it. But if you kind of keep these types of things in mind as you're creating your content, then it really kind of enables you to better evaluate different tools that you find. And these principles can kind of be applied broadly to a lot of different subjects. And so today I'll be talking about how to include alt text on all of your meaningful images, how to ensure a proper heading structure for your documents, how to use sufficient color contrast so that people can be able to see your content. And along with the color contrast, there's also, you want to try to avoid using just color to convey meaning. And then you also want to look for things like if you have any video content that you have accurate captions enabled for that content. And so these are some of the tools that I'll be talking about. The first two, the Microsoft Office 365 Accessibility Checker and the Color Contrast Analyzer are free tools that anybody can get access to for the most part, and they're the best tools that we've found for providing accessibility help for your documents. The accessibility checker is built into Microsoft Office, and the color contrast analyzer is a free tool that you can download, and I'll show you how that all works coming up. And the third item on my list is Grackle Docs for Google Suite. I know that Google is pretty popular across the board for teachers specifically, but unfortunately Google just lags behind Microsoft in terms of overall accessibility and built-in tools. And so Grackle Docs kind of helps bridge the gap where Google falls behind, but like I said, unfortunately it is not free like the other two tools are. And I believe the last time I looked at it, you can get a district-wide license for, I think, $500. But there's some more information available at that link if you guys are interested. And so what I want to do here is I've got my screen shared, but I need to get out of this and pull up. I've got a sample document that I want to use as an example of kind of how to use the accessibility checker and the color contrast analyzer. And so you guys should be seeing the English 101 syllabus document. Okay, great.
Adam, can you give me any statistics? Is there like a certain percentage of students? Is this related to students that maybe have color blindness issues? Is it related to helping analyze words, or, what kind of students may need more of this. And of course, we're supposed to use this with every student.
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of the things I'll be talking about today, can be applied to students with low vision or color blindness, full blindness. Really, like the accessibility principles that I talked about, they cover a wide range of disabilities, and a lot of what we do in digital accessibility is try to make sure that your documents can be used with a wide range of assistive technologies. And so you'll hear me mention like screen readers and that kind of thing a lot throughout this, and that's really kind of the baseline that we try to hit. It's, if you make your document able to be utilized by these assistive technologies, then it really can be applied to a broad range of disabilities. Excuse me. And so, yeah, that's a good question. Thanks. So the first thing I want to hit on here is just how to turn the accessibility checker on, because if you don't know that it's there, it's pretty easy to get to. And there's a couple different ways that I'll show you. But the way that I tend to do it is there's this review tab up here at the top. And if you click on that, then there's this check accessibility button right here. And if you click on that, it's going to open a side panel, and the accessibility checker runs in the background. It's constantly running while you're working on your document, and it updates in real time. So you don't have to like keep running the checker each time. You can just turn it on and forget that it's there until you need it. And it's going to check for all kinds of different common accessibility issues. But specifically, the ones that I mentioned on the slides, I made sure that this document would address some of those. And so it gives you a list of the issues that it finds, and if you can expand each of these, and it'll show you specifically which parts of your document are causing issues or might have potential issues with them. And so as you click through here, it'll skip around in your document and take you right to the right place that needs to be fixed. So for those of you who don't know what alt text or alternative text is, it's providing screen reader software details about the image that you have in your document. And so it can really be used by a lot of different technologies, but only if it's there. And so you need to ensure that all of your document or all of your images in your document have alt text, and that the alt text is accurately describing the meaning or the content of that image. And so unfortunately, this is probably the most subjective thing that I deal with regards to accessibility. It's very hard to know if you've got it right. You have to kind of just learn what feels right for your document and for the context of the image. So there are two ways to get to the alt text panel to where you can add alt text to the image. The first one is if you pull up the accessibility checker and it finds an issue with alt text, there's a drop-down menu beside each of these. And if you click on that, then you can click on Add Description, and it'll take you to the alt text panel, and you can enter the alt text into this box. So we recommend 1 to 2 sentences maximum. You don't want to write a dissertation in here. For one image, you can definitely add too much detail. You really just kind of want to get across the important information about the image. So for instance, specifically this image here, you could just say Dr. Sue Atwood standing at her whiteboard smiling at her students or something like that. Again, it's going to be kind of up to you as the content creator to know what purpose you want to convey with that alt text. I'll also go ahead and point out that in newer versions of Word, I believe they started doing this in the 2019 version and above. There's this checkbox here that says mark as decorative. And so you want to add alt text to the images that are important and mark things decorative that aren't as important, right? And so, for instance, if I had a border going around this document, that's not, technically it's an image, but it doesn't really have any meaning behind it. It's purely decorative. And so you could select that and then check that box to mark it as decorative. And that's going to tell a screen reader to basically skip that image, let it know that there's no content there. On any versions that are older than the 2019 version, so I know 2016 is pretty popular, it's not going to have that mark as decorative box. And so we recommend go ahead and putting for the alt text that that this image is decorative, just in case people get, just so people don't know that they've that they're missing something. And so the other way to add, to get to that panel, besides the drop down here, is if you just right click on the image on newer versions of Word, you can just go edit alt text, and the option is right there on the menu. There is a longer way, and I'm forgetting off the top of my head because it's like 4 or 5 different menus down. They kind of buried it in older versions, but the option is there to get to it, and the option to get to it through the accessibility checker should still be there.
And I was going to say, I know that by right clicking on an image in Google, that brings up the alt text option. So
right, yeah, and that's something I was, that I'll mention a little bit later on, is that once you learn kind of like what to look for, then you're better equipped to kind of evaluate different tools moving forward. And so yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of tools will have these same options. Obviously there'll be different ways to get to them, but yeah, if you've come across some tool and it allows you to add an image description or alt text, then that's what you're looking for. Okay, and so I want to touch real quickly on these other documents or these other images that I've got down here, because a lot of times we'll have images that have text in them, and you want to try to avoid those as much as possible, just because if in order to do the alt text correctly, you would need to put all of this information in the alt text. And sometimes that's not exactly what you're looking for, for using that image. And so, for these specifically, it's a list of books that would be required for this course. And so the important information that the student needs is the name of the book, the author, the edition, that kind of thing. That's the important stuff. And so that's what I would put in the alt text for each of these. Alternatively, you could mark each of them as decorative and then add like a bulleted list that contains all of that information, so that the student would still get that information a different way. So there's a lot of times there's 5 or 6 ways to go about accomplishing the same thing. With regards to accessibility, it's more just kind of training yourself what to look out for. So that covers the alt text. The next thing I want to cover is styles. So in Microsoft Word specifically, and other programs can do this too, you're going to want to look for a way to be able to set a heading structure for your document. And what I mean by that is that if you go into your document, and everybody's done this, right? You make a Word document, you select this text, you make it bold, you make it bigger, you maybe change the font, and then that's your heading. Well, that's a heading visually, but you need to be able to tell the computer that, hey, this is actually a heading. And the way you do that in Word is by using the styles panel over here. And I know that you can do a similar function in Google, but it really makes it to where you can kind of set it and forget it, right? If you set the heading styles using the tools available to you instead of doing it manually, then you can ensure that every time you use that level of heading in your document that it's all the same. And if you ever make any changes to that heading style, then it updates your whole document. You don't have to go back through and change 400 headings each time. So the way that works is if you just select the text that you want to be your heading, and you come up here to the styles panel, you'll notice that it shows 5 headings here. There's many, or 5 styles. There's more than that. If you click this more button here, which is under the down arrow, it's going to kind of expand that out to show you more than just those 5. And I personally like to click this other button down here, and it's going to pull open a whole styles panel over here on the side. And so these are already built into Word. All you have to do is kind of use them in the correct spots, and then you can modify them to look however you want. And so, for instance, instead of coming over here and manually setting bold and 24 point and Calibri as the font, I can come here, set it as a heading level 1, click this button and click modify. And now it brings me up a whole bunch of options that I can set for that heading level. And so it's got all the same options that you have up here under the font and the paragraph. But again, you can kind of just set it once and not have to remember. Like, that's my thing, is like, I can't ever remember what I put on the last heading level. I got to go look at it, and and then it's just a whole bunch of back and forth making sure that you have it right. But with this, you can make sure that they're all identical throughout your whole document. Beyond this screen, there's this format button down here that has a whole bunch of other options. Notably, the paragraph box has options for spacing before and after that heading level. So that makes it to where you don't have to hit like return 3 times after putting a heading. You can kind of set that to just automatically happen. You can change the line spacing, all of that stuff you can do in here. I'm obviously not gonna be able to cover every single option in this. I recommend just getting in there and playing around with it, and kind of seeing what damage you can do, and just know that really the important thing is getting those heading levels set correctly. And another note on that I forgot to mention earlier is that with the heading structure, you want to make sure that you're going in order and that you're not skipping heading levels, right? So you can go from like a heading level 1 to a heading level 2, and from a heading level 2 to a heading level 3, but you would never want to go from like a heading level 2 to a level 5 and skip those levels. So you can go down in order, and you can go backward, you can skip, but you just want to keep that hierarchy in place as you're making your documents. And so, if I've got this all the way that I like, I can hit OK, and then it will update the heading level 1 to be that style. And so now, we recommend only having one heading level 1 in your document as the main title of your document. But if, for instance, I wanted to make this a heading level 1, now I could just click that button and that whole thing becomes a heading level 1. And if I come in here and go modify, and let's, for instance, just change the color, both of them are going to update automatically. And so that's really kind of the a nice benefit of using the styles panel is that you can kind of become more efficient at building documents, and it's also more accessible. And so I'm going to actually go ahead and change that back to heading level 2. And so really quickly, you could come through your document and just, that's your heading level 1, that's a heading level 2, that's a heading level 3, that's a heading level 3, another 3, another 2. And so you can just really quickly kind of go through and set these to be what they need to be. And then you can kind of go back and play around with the spacing of everything. Like it kind of messed with my formatting there. That's because it's got a lot of manual things that are kind of behind the scenes that are causing some issues. But and just a quick tip to be able to see those, in the paragraph section up here, you can click this show hide paragraph button, and it's going to show you all of the hidden paragraph symbols and things on your document. And so if you have your styles set correctly with spacing and everything in between each of the heading levels, then really you can come in here and delete all of those. And it just kind of cleans up your document and takes away some of the clutter from from kind of behind the scenes. Okay, and I just realized that I cannot see the chat anymore where I'm at. So hopefully nobody's been asking questions in there
right now, but if anyone has any questions,
good.
Feel free, and I'll just kind of jump in if that's okay.
Great. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so beyond the, Lee asks, does the heading structure enable an outline view? Yes, it does. And specifically like in PowerPoint, that's one of the ways that you can kind of help set these the heading structure is by switching to outline view and filling it in there. But yes, that's a good way to think about it. Is ensuring that things are set up in such a way that it makes a good outline. And there are different styles in here for different things. Any body text that you have that isn't a heading, you can set that to be normal. One thing to avoid is using this title style that was introduced, but assistive technology really doesn't make use of it. It's one of those things that a lot of times they just kind of throw a bunch of features out there, but if nobody uses them, then they just kind of sit there. Best practice is just to use heading level 1 as your title, and then go from there for the rest of your document. Okay. So one of the other things that the accessibility checker will pick up on is, and it still needs a little bit of work in this area, but it's nice to see that they're at least trying to add this functionality to it, is it will check for color contrast that's hard to read. And so you'll notice here that it gave us an error for that green color. But it doesn't do a really great job yet of really giving you options or understanding why it's bad. And so that's why we like using this other tool that I had linked earlier, and it's called the Color Contrast Analyzer. It's a free tool that you can download. It's a really lightweight little program that gives you the ability to check color contrast with just using these eyedropper tools. And so if you want to check a foreground color versus a background color, and really it doesn't matter which one you pick as long as you choose both colors that you want, and it will give you this little zoom window, and it even goes down to the pixel level, so you can get really fine tune kind of where you're choosing the color. And you can even use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move around 1 pixel at a time. And once you choose the color, it loads it into the analyzer, and it gives you a contrast ratio. And so for digital accessibility, that's the magic number that we're looking for. And anything above 4.5 to 1 is good color contrast. Anything under that is not going to be enough, and you're going to want to increase your contrast. There's a big, giant, pages long mathematical formula to figure that all out. And that's why this tool is nice. It's just 2 clicks and it tells you whether your stuff's good or not. I won't get into what the AA and AAA and all that goes into. That's a set of international standards. The important thing is if you get over 4.5 to 1, then you're good. And if you do that, both of these red X's will be green check marks, and that's kind of what you're looking for. So you can see that this green color with the white background only has a 2.7 to 1. If I click this button here on the analyzer, it's going to pull up some color sliders directly in the tool, and I can grab these. Right now I've got them set to synchronize, and so they're going to all move at the same time as I move this. But you can see, like, as I'm sliding this, that contrast ratio changes. So I can get it to be above 4.5, and then that's my new good color. And so there's different color formats or whatever, but the hex code is pretty easy to use. You just copy that, go back into Word, and then go to your font colors, click on more colors, and then there's the box to paste that hex value into. Hit OK, and there you go. Now that color is good, and you'll notice that it's taken it off of my list of accessibility issues. What's also nice is that by putting that in there, it adds that color to your recent colors. And so now you don't have to do that whole thing again. You can just select the text that you want to change it to that color, and go about your business. And so, you really want to be checking the color contrast to make sure that people with low vision, people with color blindness, they're really going to struggle. People at the back of the room when you're on a projector, that's really why you want to ensure high color contrast, so that it just makes it easier to see for everybody.
That tool is amazing. I downloaded it myself. I know some of you may need to talk to some IT people. I think that you would be able to show them some of the benefits. I think Adam may have some other tools in its place, but just the ability to slide the sliders and be able to change the color is amazing, because sometimes I'll create something and I'm like, man, this looks great. And then I run an accessibility checker and I have to go back and revamp. So just because it looks great doesn't mean it's accessible by everyone.
Right. No, that's good points. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to talk about that. I don't think so. Okay, I am sure to go back here. Sorry, I lost my button. It moved to a different screen. There we go. There it is. Okay. Sorry, forgive me. Got lost a little bit there. Okay, so just another quick note to go along with color contrast. you want to make sure that you're not using color alone to convey meaning. And what I mean by that is you wouldn't want to have something that says like important information below is red, and then list out, you know, a list that has some things that are red and some things that aren't. You want to use color and at least one other way to denote that information. And that's because if somebody's colorblind and they can't tell the difference between that color, then they're not getting the same information. It's not clear to them what what information you're talking about. And so, that's why on a lot of like web forms, you'll see required with an asterisk, and it's like a red asterisk. So that's two ways. You're setting it apart with a symbol and also with a color. And so that's something that you want to just kind of keep in mind. A lot of times that comes into play when you're using charts or graphs, that kind of thing. If you have a line chart that has 3 different lines, and the only way you can tell them apart is by color, that's an issue. You want to try to have either a different pattern for each of those, or an even better method would be to ensure that like your data points are actually listed on the graph. That way it doesn't matter what color it is, you can still tell what the information is. Okay, and so go back here, see if there we go. So now that you kind of know some basic accessibility principles, like there's lots more, and I've got a slide coming up that has some links to some additional resources here in a minute. But I wanted to kind of give a word of warning, as it were, to beware the easy button. There's a lot of kind of popular tools that come and go that they look really slick and they make your life super easy and they're amazing and you love them, but often they're not accessible. And so the example that I like to give on that is Canva. It's kind of rose to popularity for creating presentations and things, but the accessibility testing that we've done on it, the end product just is not great. It doesn't have a lot of tools, like there's no way to add alt text to any image, and the final output is not great for accessibility. However, there is a workaround where if you come across a program and it allows you to like download a copy as a PowerPoint presentation or that kind of thing, if you can get it into a Microsoft Office product and then you can run that accessibility checker, you should be able to fix any problems that tool kind of didn't handle very well.
So like if there was an image in Canva, maybe you could take a screenshot of it and paste it into a Word doc. With it being in a Word doc, would that help?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you got it into a Word doc and then you could set the alt text, yeah, that should be fine. Okay. But even like with Canva, you can create your entire presentation in Canva and then export it to PowerPoint and then go through the accessibility checker and fix all the issues. It's, you have to kind of weigh your options, of whether that's, a better use of your time than just using PowerPoint to begin with. But Canva does have some pretty slick templates and they look nice and everything. But yeah, like we don't recommend it from an accessibility standpoint unless you're going to be exporting it to a Microsoft Office product and then going through the checker there. All right, and so this slide just kind of speaks to what I mentioned before. It's like if you're thinking about these things as you're kind of evaluating different tools, they'll really kind of help you narrow down whether it's an accessible tool or not. So things like, does it allow you to add alt text to your images? Is there some way to add headings? Can you edit the colors easily to, or does it have a accessible palette of colors that you can just already choose from? If you're adding video content, can you add captions to the video within the tool itself, or if I like embed a video from YouTube, do the captions follow the video and come over into the tool? And so, like those are just kind of some things to keep in mind as you're building different things.
I realized one of the things I found out recently is that when you're presenting in Google Slides,
Mhm.
and you can turn it on so that, we know that the voice to text isn't wonderful and 100% accurate.
Right.
But, that is a way that if you were presenting and maybe you wanted to record that and then share that with students, that might be a start, at least, for finding a way to add some text to teacher created video too.
Sure, definitely. Yeah. And like you said, the technology just isn't there yet. You're never going to be able to come out with it being 100% accurate. But yeah, it's definitely a good starting point. And many tool, like I know YouTube automatically generates captions as well on any video that gets uploaded. And then you can also go in and edit those captions to be more accurate. Some of the things that it doesn't include it doesn't do any capital letters at the beginning of sentences. It doesn't do any punctuation. It doesn't capitalize any proper names, that kind of stuff. We've all watched the video on YouTube where the captions are just nonsense. It's like sometimes the algorithm just goes off the deep end. So it's always good to kind of double check that stuff. But yeah, like at a bare minimum, it needs to have captions at all. And then if you have the time to get in there and edit those captions, then that's obviously better. Okay, and so this slide lists out, some of our some of the resources that we use, and we have a link down at the bottom there for resources through EdTech that we utilize in our trainings and that kind of thing. And so all of these are really good guides on how to do all kinds of accessible things. And just ensure that your content is as accessible as possible. Again, like I'll just kind of let you guys, that's some good food for thought for after the meeting. But yeah, that's
so many times. I know both of my daughters and my husband are dyslexic, and to me it was always so easy for me to create something and share something with them, or be giving a presentation and have words up there. And it took me a while to process that. I had to take in account maybe slower reading speed and making sure that everything was accessible. And even some of the fonts that were used were more challenging for my dyslexic children to read. And so I think sometimes we don't always think about that until it affects us. We just, oh, well, it works for us. So I'm just really appreciative that Adam would give us just a tiny piece of the iceberg of knowledge he has, because, there's so many things that we can do to help our students. And I think we need to make sure that we're doing it, even if our students don't need that support now, because we don't know. Maybe a parent reading a document at home may need that. And, so many times our parents aren't maybe comfortable sharing their own disabilities with us. So, we have to make sure we're never sure what's going on outside of our classroom.
Right. Yep. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. There's a lot of disabilities that are invisible. And you would, potentially never know that one of your coworkers is colorblind, for instance, unless they just specifically told you. And so, yeah, it's better to kind of just learn how to create things in an accessible manner from the beginning and just make that be your way that you create documents. And then it becomes habit, and then you don't even have to think about it, and that's one of the things that I really like about teaching people about accessibility. Like for instance, the styles panel in Word, like that just makes you better at using Word in general, beyond it being accessible. If you can kind of get good at that, then it'll really kind of speed up your document creation process. And it can just really, it's a multifaceted approach to kind of helping you do things.
Is there anyone that has any questions specifically for Adam? Or anything that maybe you're like, I have this great idea that I use all the time and you may not know of it and you'd like to share? Okay, well, I am going to say thank you to Adam. And I just had a couple additional things that I would like to share. And Adam, can you, okay, wonderful.
Oh, sorry. Nope.
No, you're fine. But would you be able to make me host again so that I can share?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. There we go.
As always, this video and the slide deck will be posted on the at OSDE EdTech page. I love the fact that he has provided links that will allow us to go back in and access and see, and hopefully you find those as good resources. I do just have a couple of things with all of the interest and maybe not interest, maybe with all of the transition to virtual and blended learning. I am in the process of creating a network improvement community for virtual teachers for grades 6 through 12. We're going to do a 6-week pilot program trying to improve student engagement specifically in virtual settings. The applications are due January 28th. And like I said, you've got the link to the slide deck up in the top right corner, and that would give you a link, or you can email me directly. Some other things, our next meeting will be February 28th. And the topic for that will be the SAMR model for technology integration. As we're starting to use more technology in our classes, what is good use of technology versus, sometimes it's honestly better just to grab a pen and paper and write. So, if you're going to use technology, let's think about what are some of the best ways to be integrating it, that it actually makes a difference in learning. And is it just like an add-on? I'm using technology because I'm told I have to use technology. So once again, there's the slide deck for today. And hopefully, again, 4th Monday of each month. We only have 3 more left this school year. And as always, I have a link to all of the resources, past tech tool trainings that were topic oriented based upon several different tools. You can access and subscribe to my monthly EdTech newsletter, and some of the tutorial databases that just have all kinds of information, either for parents, teachers, students, and all kinds of just resources as choice boards, community building activities. So it's all there. I hope some of you are able to use that. And I thank you for coming today. And I thank you so much, Adam, for taking the time to meet with us. And if you need anything, if I can do anything for you, let me know. But thank you all for taking the time to come today. And I'm going to hang out here in case there's any other questions. And if not, hopefully I'll see some of you next month, and stay healthy.